In the last 4 years, I've built around 66 pounds of lean muscle. And in this video, I'm going to tell you how you can get the most gains for the time that you spend in the gym. I'm going to tell you what worked best for me, what latest research says, and then at the end of the video, I'm going to give you workout splits that are based off these principles. So there's two main things you need to consider when you look at the efficiency of a workout split, right? Apart from obviously giving each muscle group enough time to rest, you need to make sure you do sufficient volume. So in other words, you need to make sure you do enough sets of each muscle group every single week. The second thing you need to consider is making sure that your training frequency is high enough. So in other words, you make sure you train each muscle group frequently enough each week. First off, let's talk about volume. Okay, so volume is the more important factor between the two when it comes to hypertrophy. If you had to pick between doing enough volume in a week or training with a high enough frequency, pick volume. Okay, so obviously volume will differ for every single muscle group. It's obviously a lot different to do 12 sets of biceps in a week than doing 12 sets of quads. So generally you want to hit anywhere between 6 and 20 sets per muscle group per week, right? So that's quite a big range. Obviously for the bigger muscle groups, you're going to do fewer sets. And then for your smaller muscle groups like biceps, you can do a bit more. So something that's important to understand is that you get two instances of training a muscle group, right? So you get direct instances and then you get indirect instances. Let me explain what I mean by direct and indirect instances. Let's take bicep training as an example. So let's say you want to train your biceps and you do bicep curls. That would be an example of direct instance training because you're focusing on contracting your bicep muscle. Now, an example of an indirect instance of training your bicep would be, let's take lat pull downs as an example. You're obviously focusing on training your lats, but your biceps also gets a lot of exercise. They get contracted. So it would be stupid to say you don't get any exercise on your biceps, but it doesn't count as a full bicep exercise. I hope that makes sense. So what I'm going to explain to you now is obviously rough metrics, but basically a direct instance of training a muscle would count as one unit of training that muscle. So in other words, one set, right? Where an indirect exercise or an indirect instance would count as 0.5 or a half a unit. So if you do two indirect instances, that would count as 1 unit or one set. So 6 sets in total of biceps could, for example, be 3 sets of preacher curls, which are obviously direct instances of training your muscle, and then 6 sets of lat pull downs, which will be 6 indirect instances of training your bicep. That will add up to 6 total sets of training your biceps. So just so you guys know, the information that I just gave you guys is backed by science. Mike Israetel talks about this. I don't know if you guys know who he is, but I'll link the video in the description. So next up is frequency. Now, although training with a correct amount of volume each week is ultimately more important than frequency, training at the right frequency and hitting each muscle group enough times each week is also very important. So let's get straight into that. So the first thing to say, which is very important, is you ideally want to hit each muscle group at least twice each week. So ensuring you hit each muscle group at least twice a week is one of the highest leverage things you can do, so you get the most back for the time you put into the gym. Past training your muscles 2 times a week or each muscle group at least twice a week, there isn't really a big difference or a big benefit. Whether you train each muscle group 2 times or 3 times a week is not really going to make a big difference, where the difference between training it once versus twice a week is going to be a lot bigger, and all you really have to do is structure your workout in a way where you hit each group twice a week. It's not really going to take more time. It's just about structuring your workout plan or your training split differently. Another big reason why training with the right frequency is very important is it helps you to get the most out of your sets. Let me explain. So let's say your ultimate goal is to hit 12 sets of triceps in a week. If you try to do 12 sets of triceps in one day, by the 10th, 11th and 12th set, you're going to be so fatigued that you're not really going to be able to do those sets as well as you possibly can. If instead you split those 12 sets up in two and did 6 sets the one day, and then obviously some other muscle group, and then 6 sets the other day, then you're going to get a lot more out of those sets. So think about volume and frequency a bit like you think about your diet, okay? Ultimately, what matters the most is that you eat enough calories and that you hit all of your macros, whether you do that by eating 1 large meal or 4 smaller meals. On the flip side, if you decided to rather eat 4 smaller meals, your body's going to be able to digest the food a lot more efficiently than eating 1 big meal. Also, you're not going to feel stuffed after every small meal, where if you ate 1 massive meal a day, you're going to feel stuffed and bloated. So that is volume and frequency. I hope that makes sense to you guys. On the screen, I'm going to give you ideal workout splits that are based off of these principles. Obviously, you can play around a bit. These aren't set in stone, but these are good workout splits that are proven to work. So I really hope that this video was helpful to you guys. It's quite a complicated topic and I really tried my best to condense it into simple, understandable chunks. If you did enjoy the video, I would really appreciate if you leave a like and subscribe. If you have any feedback or questions, you can send me a DM. I'll link my Instagram, or you can just leave it as a comment below this video. Also, let me know what workout splits you follow. But other than that, thanks so much for watching. Have a great day and I'll see you in the next one.